Welcome everyone to episode. Nope.
You do know the Bharos is going to keep this in, right?
I know. That's why I hate this.
100%.
Welcome to episode 8.
7.
It's 7. It's 7. God damn it.
I know. I'm just warming you guys up for the jokes. All right, here we go. Welcome everyone to episode 7 of the global exclusive podcast where we hate daylight savings time. We are joined this week by Bharos.
I never pull unlimited banners.
Cotton Sea.
Gami loves all majors except for Terra.
Dream Blitz.
Praise be to Yevon.
Musful.
Bharos exclusively pulls unlimited banners.
That's a lie.
And ShadoWalker.
I want more Hasako.
This week, we have a sponsor provided to us by Muspel. Let us know, Muspel.
This week's episode of Global Exclusive is brought to you by Not Gabranth. Do you ever feel like we get too much stuff in GL? Do you wish that Gumi would localize fewer units? Ask your doctor if Not Gabranth is right for you. Side effects may include lack of good tank helmets, complaints from both of FF12's fans, and complete radio silence from Gumi. If Gabranth is delayed by more than 2 years, contact your doctor immediately.
So, like, you're wiping your ass with, like, koalas now?
He protect, he attack, but most importantly, he mirage 2 stack.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of 8, I don't think we're going to have an 8th episode of our podcast. I'm too tired for this crap.
Go to bed, Dad.
That was really professionally done.
Did you, like, write it down in advance and actually have a script? Ooh, not bad, not bad. Getting serious on the podcast, I like it.
Wow, this really improved the quality. Now I'm feeling some pressure.
Mm-hmm.
He had all that extra time from not writing the weekly update thread.
Oh.
That's where it's been going.
Oh. There's a burn in the middle of winter.
Wasn't really a burn, though.
It's not really winter either.
Hey, it's, well,
Especially not here.
I guess, yeah.
No, it's not.
Your mileage may vary.
So first thing I want to ask before we get into the actual podcast. So, Dream and Cotton, how is the, like, toilet paper situation?
We are out of toilet paper. Hooray!
So, like, you're wiping your ass with, like, koalas now?
Tarantulas.
It's actually...
Yeah, that was a nervous laugh, kind of like, oh shit, nose.
No, here it's actually pretty reasonable. People seem to be somewhat sensible, because what we were actually out of is hand wash, which, makes sense.
That's actually a worse situation to be in as well, though. Like,
Yeah, that's
considering
true.
the virus.
Yeah,
Right.
the coronavirus has kind of put a damper on everything, it seems, this week. But luckily, I would say our population of listeners has no fear because we're indoors and all the time anyway. So and we're always playing video games. So it really doesn't matter. And we're ordering stuff off Amazon, having it delivered. Really no change for us at all.
Already max skilled up self-isolation.
Yeah, like, I'm grinding FFBE like never before. This is great.
And here I am grinding Pokemon Go.
How do you grind Pokemon Go without walking, though? Like,
I know,
outside?
I downloaded it again this week and realized I had to go somewhere, and then it promptly deleted it.
You see, because of coronavirus, they gave everyone free PvP. So I've just been grinding that.
Cool.
Welcome back to the Pokemon Global Exclusive Podcast.
Where we complain about the number of regionals available in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah. All right. For this week, though, we're actually going to talk about the Final Fantasy X banner, which has a lot of people excited. Final Fantasy X is one of the fan favorites, I would say, of many of our generation. I have never played it. I have been futilely trying to download it onto an emulator this week, but I am cursed with a Apple Macintosh computer. I'm having some technical difficulties. But for the rest of you that have actually played it, I'm sure that this will be more exciting for you guys. So first off, let's start with the star player of the banner. The star player, star player, Tidus/Tidus, whatever your preference is.
Tidus, 100%. Like, I'm sorry, everyone. Like, I don't care what canon is.
Oh, wait. Immediately just gone to pronunciation. Oh well.
We talked
it's-
about this. We got it straight that everyone who pronounces it one way or the other is wrong, and we're all agreed. And then we still do this anyway.
Yeah, it's
So
fine.
what is it not? Is it now what? Tidus?
I think we can all agree that there are people who are wrong about pronouncing it, but I think that all of us can also agree that Hazard is most wrong.
This is true. This is
Yeah,
very true.
I'm behind that. I'm behind that.
I am plus oneing this.
Just
Yes,
simplify it and
definitely.
call him Tiddy.
What? Did you say a PG-13 non-word?
No, it was a perfectly normal word that is just a shortening of his name and nothing else to the contrary, and anything you say otherwise is slander against my name and pure lies.
Huh, okay.
And, Dream has retained a lawyer since the last time he was slandered,
Oh, yeah.
and that lawyer is me. So watch it.
Oh, you do civil cases too?
Yes. So let's talk about Tidus.
Anyway, so first of all, I just want to say Final Fantasy X units apparently don't know how durations work, because his rotation is so annoying because everything's mixed between 3, 4, and 5 turns.
Is that an effect
Yeah.
of the buffs in GL?
No, I don't think his durations really got changes. I think it was mostly just modifiers and stuff.
No, but I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, wasn't he meant to be used as an LB finisher in JP? And now we actually have a very decent chainer out of him, too. So,
yeah,
he's,
so
like,
Tidus is unusual. We've had units that are like this before where you can use them as a chainer or a finisher, but not many. Like Roberta was like that, sort of. I wouldn't have recommended using her as a chainer, but you could do it. I'm trying to remember who the other ones were, but there've been a couple units where you can do this. Tidus is probably the best one we've
Squall?
seen so far. Yeah, Squall worked that way. Again, not
Never heard
something
of
I would
him.
recommend, but you could do it.
Mhm.
So as a chainer, he's not the strongest. He's reasonably good. I think his damage is about on par with CG Rain.
I think it's slightly higher. It's basically around sort of CG Onion Knight for Salus, sort of between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could probably push it a bit higher if you give him external change for his LB turns.
Yeah, 120% Water Imperial helps him as well, because the one he
Mhm.
can apply with Wither Shot is like really doesn't work nicely with his turns, and is only 2 turns anyway.
But the thing that's fun is, though, that he's like just slightly stronger as an LB finisher if you provide support chains every turn. But it's like almost negligible, right? It's almost the same.
Yeah, I think as an LB finisher, he has pros and cons. The nice thing is that unlike a lot of LB-based units, he doesn't need any external support to fill his LB. He just does it every other turn on his own, which means that he can just he spends one turn setting up and then he nukes really hard with his LB. Now the downside to that is that his setup turn is very important. He needs to use that skill that buffs his LB damage by 200%. So you can't push him up that much higher by using Entrust, because if you entrust him, then he doesn't have the LB damage buff on that turn,
Yeah.
assuming he used his LB on the previous turn.
So pros and cons to it.
He's a pretty good
Yeah.
finisher. His burst is pretty similar to Sid's, but that really
Without
just tells you that,
ridiculous whale jump gear.
yeah, that power creep has not come that far in the past, 8 months? Is that when Sid got his enhancements? 8 months ago?
8 months ish.
Wow, it's been that long. Whew.
Easter is coming.
Yeah, that's a
Dun,
big number.
dun,
Power creep.
dun.
Let's say pros and cons. Like, Sid has a few fights where it really doesn't work at all. Bosses hate jumping units.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shinryu, for instance, will just yank Sid out of the sky, and then I think he kills a random unit when he does that or something.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that guy who's waiting for his Sid to come back.
Dad.
Every time I think of Sid now, I can't stop.
Oh, that was a great post. I had a good laugh.
But one thing that I like about Tidus, so I generally think that if you got Tidus, it's probably easier to just use him as a chainer, because the damage is almost the same, and you also get some nice stuff in his kit, like you're going to be doing some AoE buffs and stuff like that. But one thing that I want to say about his finisher potential is that, as several other finishers, it's super nice because he can determine on what turn to burst. Yes, he has a 1-turn delay to it, but in that sense is like a jumping finisher.
Yeah, that's a nice thing.
I'm actually surprised to hear you going to bat for him as a chainer rather than a finisher. What
That's
have you
so
done with
surprised.
Bharos?
Well, the thing is, it's just that, like, normally you'd expect the finisher to do a lot more damage than his chaining potential, but he already does so much damage as a chainer that you don't have to go the extra mile. I mean, obviously it's more difficult to use 2 finishers as DPS than 2 chainers, so it's just easier.
I'm gonna go the
Or
other
I
route.
mean, you could slot into like different team comps as well. Like you could bring another 2 chainers and a Tidus as a finisher. So
I'm gonna go another route and say that Tidus follows a recent trend of finishers being more self-sufficient. Like, he has his own buffs, he has his own imbues and imperils. I mean, yes, the imperils are shit, but he still has it. Ever since like not CP Noct, well, even CP Noctis isn't as self-sufficient as star player Tidus is. So I really like finishers that can imbue, imperil, and buff themselves without really having to rely on outside help. And I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
He does have 120% water and peril, at least for 2 turns, but you can't use it till turn 4.
Yeah, that's an issue.
see, that is why Locke is his best friend. That is why Locke is a lot of units' best friends.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Luck is like excellent for all units in the game.
Not just Locke, but Luna Freya, right? Like Luna Freya
Yeah.
helps him out a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, both of them with their 120% water.
Like it's really weird. Water as an element has become probably one of the favorite elements in this game. Like Fid exists, Luna Freya exists, and Locke exists. Just because those 3 units that are really good on their own, and then plus that they have the water imbues and imperils within them, makes any water chainer just skip the non-damage turn.
It's certainly the most externally supported element because, like, there's also like say the flood chains from Leviathan and Kokoryu, Black Dragon,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call them.
We also got Folka and AI Katie that help flood as well.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
That's a bit
recently
more specific.
we just got Tifa enhancements and Lulu ability what EPs.
Latents.
Latents.
Yeah, so it's like water's just so good. Water's way too good right now.
And it's disappearing from the shelves.
One thing to say about it is that though he is element. Oh, well, he's not element locked because he actually has another element in his kit. He can do fire, right?
He can
Yeah,
do
wind.
fire and wind.
Right. But water is his most strong element, especially if you
Yeah,
have his
he-
STMRs.
Yeah, he has weaker imperils for the other 2, so it's not ideal. But he has backup options, which is really all you need, because it means that he's never completely screwed unless the boss is immune
Yeah.
to like a lot of different stuff.
And I just want to say, I love how they've done his STMR. More finishers or hybrid units, if you want. Oh, wait, that was the wrong word. But more units should have an elemental STMR. Yes, you can't use it in every fight because if you can't use water, you can't. But it's so good because you can skip that imbue, and it's such a nice reward for having that STMR. Like, imagine if.
Although I will say that for water specifically, it's less important because of Kaito's TM.
Yeah, sure. But still, like, imagine if AK Rain's STMR was fire.
It would be nice to have more elemental STMRs. Even like
Yeah.
one-handed ones as well. Like if say Hero's Greatsword should totally be innate fire.
I kind of agree with both you guys, Stream and Barros. I would like just some more diversity, more availability of different element weapons that are good.
Yeah, there's so few. I think there's what, like 2 or 3
Barts?
one-handed elemental STMR weapons.
Yeah, because there's Bart's sword, Orlando's sword for light,
Dark Knight
or
Luna.
Orlando's greatsword.
Maybe there's more than that. I don't know, but
Yeah,
there's not many.
No, there really isn't. And like for 2-hand options, you're even more screwed. You have you have Bahamut Tier, and then you have Sid STMR, and I can't really think of any others.
Crimson.
There's Crimson
Crimson,
STMR,
Crimson.
yeah, Centurio.
Like C doesn't want to use his own SDMR, so
Yeah, especially now. Like before, it was actually decent because there was like a use for him using his STMR, so you didn't have to imbue him. But now he
Then-
prefers TDW, so.
Yeah,
There's actually a fair selection of 2-handed elemental weapons. There's Excalibur, there's Bahamut Tier, there's Crimson's STMR, there's Lord of Shadows, there's
there's
some other stuff
Nalu's
that I can't
spear.
think of. Yeah,
Nalu's
Nalu's
Spear,
Spear.
yeah.
There's the axes.
Oh, that's true. We actually do have a fair amount of yeah, I was wrong. We do have a fair amount of 2-handed elemental weapons.
Yeah, it's one-handed where there's just so few options.
yeah, it's just odd how we don't have a lot of good elemental one-handed weapons since you think they'll be the ones that's more important for true dual wield people.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
I'm wondering if it's because when they make a 7-star unit, they don't want to make, if it's a TDW unit, they want to give them elemental flexibility, so they don't make their STMR a weapon, and then we don't get STMR one-handed elemental weapons.
But disagrees.
It makes sense, but I still miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it too, but I wonder if that's their reasoning.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we do see it sometimes, but it's not as common.
No, and I mean, generally, of course, you're going to get, I guess you're going to get more use out of an elemental less STMR because there's a less chance of it not being useful. But the thing is, it would have been so much more useful in other cases if it actually had an element like Tidus. So that's why I love the Tidus sword as water element. Like,
Yeah.
if I had the resources to go for Tidus, I definitely would, and I would get his STMR.
Yeah, I know what you mean by skipping him though. It's just it's easy for you to talk about pulling for a unit, but when they're not limited, I know you just love to skip those banners.
Yeah. It's like, wait, no.
I just want to say that the thing we really need that we don't have a lot of is TDW magic. Like it's basically just STMRs at this point. It's like Christine and Ravenheart from Malphasy. It's pretty rare. I would like more options on that end.
Oh yeah.
Aren't we getting like Quistis STMR
Yeah,
soon?
definitely.
Quistis is a free unit, and she has it, right?
I think it's still a bit away, but yeah, it's like a whip with 50% on it.
Yeah, 50%
Ah.
TDW and 165 flat match.
But it's a whip, okay.
Wait, if you have upgrade package, okay, that whip
Yeah,
is
upgrade package lets you
beautiful.
equip whips.
It's kind of weird how whips have become much more of a mage weapon, and then there's just ego having fun in the corner, I guess.
Yeah.
That sounded
Or
bad.
ego.
Well, I think TDW in general is still trying to catch up. And
I mean,
think-
yeah. I would
yeah.
say speaking of true to wield magic, that can probably segue us back on topic a bit. Oh wait, no, never mind. Oh yeah. I was gonna. I'm sorry. I was going to segue into Lulu, but then I realized, wait, we shouldn't mix up banner units and latent units. But Yunalesca also got some as a GL buff.
Yeah, we can.
Can-
All right. Yeah, we'll lead into Yunalesca.
Okay.
So the other
Just-
unit on the banner,
Just cut that out.
the other unit on the banner is Yunalesca, and she's kind of an interesting hybrid unit. Have any of you guys pulled for her?
No.
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 I pulled for Tidus, which was a bad idea. I got him, but it was still a bad idea. And I didn't get Yunalesca though.
Yeah, so is anyone like, hey, Shadow, are you gonna repeat your bullshit shittering this time too and pull some rainbows out of the Tidus banner on
just-
pod?
Do the 12k step up. Get another 5.
So Yunalesca is the latest in a string of mages who are canonically summoners, and they have some summoning stuff in their kit, but they don't really use it. They use magic damage because evoke damage sucks.
Yeah, but one thing I like about Yunalesca is that she actually has a pretty strong evoke magic ability for those like rare occasions we would want to use it, like let's say Moon.
That's true.
And it actually hits quite hard. And as we know, evoke damage scales really well with STMR. So has anyone done the math yet on what she could do, even though it's elementalist?
I don't.
Not much.
I don't think
Uh,
most people care for evoke damage. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't look at like the average or anything, but I remember someone saying it was the burst was like 60 billion, but like, and that like sounds impressive, but then if you compare to magic damage with killers, then it's suddenly like a lot more underwhelming.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So then basically the main use for it is like you can deal good damage through like high mitigation phases of some bosses, I guess. But it's pretty niche. You usually just want to stick with her pure magic.
Can we talk about how in JP she had 0 TDW or TDH for magic? 0. And she got
Really?
100% for each in global, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that was definitely.
But how did they get away with that?
We've established before that Arlen does not know how to design units.
I wouldn't say that. I think that like this is still during. So in JP, this is still during the high era of the Summon Fest, right? And she's obviously the troll rainbow in JP. Like you don't want to get her. You want to be chasing Tidus. There's no consolation prize. You either get Tidus or you go home.
I don't know about that. Even Tidus like wasn't the most well designed unit by
No, but I mean compared to Yunalesca.
I mean,
Every time we talk about JP, one of their players gets upset.
Yeah.
all 12 of them.
Like, how dare you talk about JP? You never even played.
Like every time we talk about JP, God kills a puppy.
So are you saying we should talk more about JP?
Yes, they're sensitive. Let's talk about it more.
Wait, that's coming from the person who stands Chow. You
Oi!
want more puppies killed?
In terms of damage, Yunalesca she's I think the strongest mage in GL. She
Yeah.
Yes.
just barely beats out the existing ones. But the thing that's nice is that she has 200% worth of SPR passives in her kit. So that means that if it's a fight that has heavy magic damage, she's really easy to gear. She might even just meet the survivability requirements basically by default if it's magic damage. She'll still have issues She'll have to gear for defense if it's physical damage that she's getting hit with. But it means that she's a little bit easier to deal with than some mages, and she can also provide ailment immunity to the party, which is kind of nice. It's ideally you want that coming from your healer, but it's good to have redundancy in case your healer is busy doing something else that turn.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing some stupid healerless builds.
What I've just realized is that she's a moon killer, but like a year late.
This is
Yeah.
true. She has all the things for Moon Kill. And that's why I don't think this banner is all as bad as we like. It's not a bad banner, especially for beginners lacking deep. Tidus,
I wouldn't say it's a bad banner at all.
Tidus being
No.
able to chain and finish is actually really versatile because, like, in the beginning you'll use him as a chainer, but later on when you get better DPS, you can still revert him back into a finisher if you later really want to.
And I mean, you can do it in the same fight too. Like if you want to skip this dangerous threshold, you just beef up his LB and support chain and destroy.
Yeah, and same with Yunalesca. She has the option of going mag DPS or Evo, even in the same trial probably. So it's like, it's really versatile. It's just adding nothing new, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like none of them. Okay, so Yunalesca is actually the strongest mage. Of course, we're not as excited about mages as we are about physical DPS due to gearing problems and killer availability. But I guess the problem would be that Tidus is not the top DPS, but he's still up there. So he's still very strong.
I mean, Yunalesca does not have gearing issues at all.
Yeah. No, I mean like mages in general, like magic damage.
Sorry, Hazard, you have something to say?
Are you sure she's the strongest mage?
Yeah, I think after corrections, Shantoto's back on top, actually. And then Lulu, who we'll talk about later, pulls ahead with a good external magic buff as well.
I think Yunalesca would probably outdamage them in practice if you care about magic EH because she doesn't have to gear for SPR at all.
If this is any factor too, but in the whale sheet, Yunalesca completely outperforms the other aforementioned.
Yeah, they're like within 1% of each other, so it's really not a big deal.
So all in all, a great banner. So if you're a fan of Final Fantasy X, this is a good banner to pull on, especially if you're lacking some DPS.
Yeah, if you do have DPS though, I think we say this almost every week, but DPS banners are easy to skip.
And on
we
that
always
note,
get new DPS that are usually good but not must-haves.
On that note, can I just touch on the fact of our current scheduling? Like, so what's been happening recently is that we've been getting DPS after DPS, and we haven't had, like, I went through the wiki update schedule, which has logs of all the banners, and we haven't had this happen ever in GL, like where we got DPS after DPS after DPS for 5 straight weeks.
Are you saying you want more DPS?
No, but
I'm wondering if, now that you say that, I'm guessing that we're about to have a huge power spike and Gumi's just trying to shove out all the DPS that are weaker so they don't have to buff them as much.
Maybe, but this all started...
I mean, we are due a power spike. Like, there is a big power spike coming with the Esper units on anniversary, so and it is coming up soon.
That's still a ways off.
Did you say Easter units or Esther enhancements? Because both of those sounded quite similar. And that's where the real power spike is going to be.
Yeah. Do you say Esther enhancements? I thought you say Tiana or Felix enhancements.
It's all speculation. We really don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what they're going to buff, what they're not going to buff.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know
or whether they're getting buffed at all.
No, who was it that said, like last podcast? I think that still makes sense because what they're doing now is they're pushing out just all the DPS they don't have to considerably buff. Now, they did do it to Tidus, so you can also use him as a chainer, which I think was a fantastic move. But in general, like they don't have to do much for these units because they are on curve.
Yeah, what's nice about this banner is that if you do have some nostalgia for this particular game, it's not a bad banner to pull on. They're good units. They're going to have good flexibility. And I mean, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you've got nostalgia units like, for example, Magic Tech Terra.
Oh, Jesus Christ, you had to say it. Oh, I hate you.
Hazard, take it away. You don't want me to say that Final Fantasy Tactics is trash.
I don't know why you take this personally. It has nothing to do with you. A lot of people were disappointed that they didn't buff Terra, and I think, I don't know, it's all speculation, but to me it's like they knew people were going to pull regardless of how good she was because of how popular she is as a unit, which I'll never understand in a million years why people like Terra, but she's it's
a fight now. Okay, that's what you want.
That game has some great characters. Terra is nowhere near one of them.
Exactly.
Okay, listen. You need to back the fuck off right now.
I mean, maybe it's just because she has green hair. Or was it blonde?
Oh god.
Green,
see, even Square
Okay,
isn't.
okay.
Even Square Enix isn't sure what color hair she had. So it's like, let's. She's not really the most interesting character from FF6. Not even close.
So moving on though to the last banner unit. Well, it's not really on a banner. It's the free unit that comes with the banner, which I think might be actually the most useful to the average player, and that's Kimahri.
Yes. So, like, let's just say it out straight. You do not want to miss this unit for this event. Like, make sure you grind him and get his 7-star at least.
And this STMR if possible.
He's not at least, he needs his 7-star to be used.
And
Yeah.
clear the auxiliary quest to unlock his blue magic skills.
Yes.
Yes.
But the most important thing is to get his 7-star for his reflex skill. It's an AoE 2-hit mirage that can be spammed every turn. It will save you in a lot of fights.
Yeah, we were just talking about that in the wiki ratings chat, and they're like, there are some fights where this is so cheesy that it's going to trivialize some of the most difficult fights in the game if you have this 2-stack Mirage. So sorry, Muspel, you were saying something?
Kimahri has a very weird kit. He kind of reminds me of some past units who have had a little bit of everything, and like he has Entrust, he has breaks, but he can't really be your breaker. He has like a Kiraja tier heal, he has 180% buffs, and he can serve as a finisher. His burst is pretty similar to Sid if you use him as a finisher.
And his base dash a skill towards magic for some reason.
Yeah, so if you bring him as a Mirage bot, one thing that's nice is that he can sort of understudy for somebody else for a turn if your healer is busy and wants to like raise and cure ailments or whatever, then Kimahri can heal for that turn. Or if your buffer, if you got Dispel, Kimahri can do stat buffs while your buffer reapplies mitigation and elemental resist or whatever. So there's things that he can do even beyond Mirage.
Problem is, though, that on many fights, you will just be spamming the Mirage. And since he doesn't have the multicast, he can't do anything else, which sucks. Yes, the 2-stack actually makes it nice on some fights where you use only 1 stack per turn. But on most fights, he's just going to be spamming Mirage. Although it's still very powerful. Like 2-stack Mirage is excellent. But
I mean,
he's not going to do much else.
It's basically an evasion cover button.
Yeah, it is.
Except better because it works even on uncoverable physical AoEs. Not fixed attacks, mind you, but there's some AoEs that are physical attacks, but they actually pierce cover. And we're going to see more and more of those on future trials.
Yeah. And I mean, we've already had 2 trials where having Mirage is really powerful. We've had Tiamat, and we just had Braska as well that we're going to talk about later. So that's kind of a taste of the power you get when you can AoE spam Mirage every turn.
And Bomb Family, too, is pretty good there.
Yeah.
Emperor. No, not Emperor. There was another one with a... Arjun definitely needs this. It helps a lot. And there was another fight I can't remember that needed Mirage.
Beast in the Dark Part 2 kind of helped, because I remember way back last year taking a Sarah just for the Mirage.
Yeah.
I think you mean Iron Giant. That one was the one before.
Oh, yeah, Iron Giant, yeah.
If we can't remember which ones, it's probably quite a few.
Yeah.
My boy Jiraiya is going to be in my party for that, you know?
Oh, yeah, Tel Fusanis needed this.
I actually haven't really used Mirage yet, at least on a consistent basis.
I think the problem is that there's so few Mirage bots right now that are actually good. There's like a few units that have it, but a lot of them are almost useless aside from Mirage. The only really good ones are Xuan Wu and Locke, and trying to think of and Fu.
Assassin Shadow's got it, but it's not really part of his rotation. He's still a decent.
Yeah, he's one of those units that has it, but you don't really want to use him because aside from Mirage, he's not doing a whole lot. Like Assassin Shadow, Jiraiya, Yuffie, Red 13, and so on. There's a whole bunch of units that have it but aren't great.
But I just want to say I've been rechristened into the Fire of Rivera. She's actually a very good unit. Heals about as much as Aeon and has spammable Mirage. Just going to say it.
You know that's not a very good comparison since Aeon can't heal.
Yeah, but still. No, but I'm actually being serious. Like, I've seen the light. I can see how this unit can be used very well. I've used her on 2 trials now, and nice unit. I can't believe I missed it for so long.
Has the light blinded you?
It probably knocked him out of his sense. He's spewing bullshit. I going back to Kimahri, I really like it because this is probably our first good free I'm saying that even after we got Gentiana, and I didn't really like it. She was locked to one. But
Rosa was pretty usable as a healer.
maybe.
Yeah, but she was more like bare bones.
I think
Yeah.
Rosa was the kind of unit who's useful to new players. Kimahri is the kind of unit that even veterans might find a spot for.
Exactly. Like he has like, even disregarding his reflex ability, for beginners, there like, for the fact that a free unit can AoE break 70% and has 180% defensive buffs and 80% to fire, lightning, and water resistant, and Karasha heals. I mean, that's all great. It's just the fact that he can't dual cast them. But the fact that the fact that these things exist within his kit, I think, is a great bonus for a lot of players, even disregarding his Mirage. For a lot.
Yeah, a new player might use him as their healer because, like, turn 1, you put up the buffs and then you Kuraja.
White Wind is pretty strong. And just one slightly funny thing I've noticed with his buff skill that does the stats and the elements is that of the 4 Final Fantasy X elements, the one he's missing is ice, and like, he comes from a snowy mountain. So that's just kind of funny.
Now, that's a bit weird. But I'm going to say, though, that even though he has these things, his drawbacks of not having a multicast as well as being a jump finisher means that he does struggle actually being useful in veteran comps. Like, veterans are mostly going to use him for his amazing 2-stack Mirage, and not much else, unfortunately.
And most of those Mirage fights require you to spam the Mirage moves like every single turn. So it's not like anything else in the off turn. Oh, okay. Well, one last thing I want to touch on is his damage is pretty respectable. I actually did the whale damage before coming on the podcast today just to see what it was like. And his burst, if you have TDW, is 70 billion. Without TDW, TDH is 50 billion. And TDH build is actually more consistent because he starts doing more DPT. But 50 to 70 billion burst on his good turns, it's not bad at all, especially for free unit, all things considered. So yeah.
One last thing, before I move on. Like, here's this skill. Yuna is safe, Kimahri protect. Like, this is just beautiful.
It is cute. I agree.
He attack, but more importantly, he protect.
Yes.
Old memes. Wow, Hazard, you're such a dad.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about. Wait.
I've got a thing. He protect, he attack, but most importantly, he Mirage 2-stack.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm mad at myself for laughing at this.
Oh god. The best joke ever in the whole podcast. We should close the podcast right now.
Yeah, this is going into the snippets at the start of the episode.
We peaked.
Oh, for
we
sure.
Peaked.
So we talked about Lulu a little bit earlier, but let's talk about her and Auron, who got their latents this week. Let's start with Auron because his damage got bumped up by quite a bit to kind of a respectable level, but they didn't really do a whole lot for his breaking capability.
That was
That's actually unfortunate.
He became like a bit more consistent with like, he has basically now another layer of fallback for like applying a strong full break, and that's not a bad thing. It doesn't improve it a ton, but like, it's fairly limited on what you can do with new abilities. And yeah, for his damage, he got a lot of modifiers, like his innate element, his 2 innate element chains are now increased to, I think, like a 40x mod per cast, which is really high. But unfortunately, like, he still has issues with maintaining triple cast, even with the global exclusive buff to his latent that unlocks it for a couple turns. And then he also has low Imperials without some external help. And now, Muspel, you wanted to add in on this?
I know I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I think that Auron might be another example of Gumi trying to use enhancements as a way to make units relevant that were never good when they first came out. Whereas the units that did already have their time in the sun, they don't get as much. Like, we saw this with Jecht and Tifa. Tifa got propelled to be one of the strongest chainers in the game. Jecht ended up being okay. But that's because Tifa was bad when she came out, and Jecht was top tier back in the day. I think Auron is kind of in a similar boat. There was a time when Auron was one of the best units in the game, but now he's getting latents, and they just don't do a whole lot for him. And I think that's okay. I don't feel like units need 2 chances to be top tier. It's nice if they do, but Gumi, I think that Gumi doesn't want people to get too much bang for their buck because they want people to keep pulling.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I wonder if it plays into the Aurora Fivia enhancement plus latent thing, just because she was so good last year. That they just said, all right, time to die after this.
I mean, Frievia just got relevant, but she never got OP. But I mean, that's also the unit that dominated the game for like what, a year, half a year at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Same.
not like it's
Yeah.
not like this is a hard and fast rule. There have been units that were top tier when they came out, and then they ended up being really strong again after enhancement. Especially for like support units and healers, we see that more often.
It's
Support
hard.
units, tanks, and healers. But for damage dealers, it feels like the damage dealers that were strong when they came out usually don't get as much from enhancements. And
So, Muspel, what you're saying is that Esther enhancements will be shite.
that's I would not
Yes.
be surprised. I think that she's probably going to end up at like 14 or 15 billion damage per turn, which is fine, but not amazing.
Also, Esther was shit on release. Like Xena was the top dog, so maybe like she gets good enhancements, right?
Keep dreaming, Bharos. Keep dreaming.
Xeno was like a month later anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Nah, he was
Yeah.
2 weeks away, right? No, he was like the next banner, right?
He was released early enough.
Close.
Everyone who had pulled on Esther didn't have enough to go for him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to pull for the Bugman anyway.
Imagine not going for both.
That was an awful banner.
Esther was April 19th and Xeno was May 10th, so it's like almost exactly a
Okay, there you go.
For like 3 weeks, maybe.
maybe.
For calendar math.
But that
so
actually
you'll-
means that Xeno won't get great enhancements, which makes me a bit sad.
Yeah. So, anyways, Auron is the kind of unit like you can use him as a damage dealer. It's not great. You can use him as a breaker. He's fine. He didn't really get much of an upgrade in that department, but he's still enough of a breaker for most fights. So, and basically, unless the boss is spamming dispels or you need to dispel it all the time, Auron is fine.
Mm.
I feel like that's become more frequent recently, and Kryla has become so valuable for that. And
Yeah.
actually, I worry about Beowulf because that was kind of one of his small niches at the time, even though it wasn't that useful when he got released. But he got JP enhancements, and they were about as disappointing as Auron's were.
Yeah, I guess.
I worry. I'm very worried. He's like the only character left I have hopes for.
I mean,
But
check-
one thing that I think is weird is that we have this nice banner with the revisit of the Final Fantasy X units, but only Lulu and Auron are the ones that have gotten latents so far. I'm kind of hoping they're gonna do like a week 2 more latents thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Mm.
there might be like
Hopefully.
Tyson Una next week or something.
I really hope so, because I would love to see like Yuna get some love. I would love to see, well, Yek would be nice too, I guess.
Wait, wasn't
Mm.
Tidus the OG Tidus Layton's really good in JP? Like I thought
They were, yes.
I think they were pretty good. I don't know if they were actually like super amazing looking at them. Like
Yeah.
I think he got an active that gives him a few turns of triple cast similar to like Dark Knight Cecil, but he still has to like use his limit burst for imperiling, and his modifier was like good but not like super outstanding. So
Oh,
I don't think Tidus would be that unbalanced, but I haven't actually like calculated at least recently. I
Okay.
think in terms of power, at least like after our global exclusive buffs, it would actually be Jekt that might be a bit strong to get his latents now. Because unfortunately with his latents, he, at least in JP, went back to having his quick hit move be the
The
strongest
strongest? Yeah. I
instead of his
remember
You.
divine ruination, which is
Why?
gross. But
Yes.
also like it on each of the 3 turns it's buffed by his cooldown, it will now do like a bit over 50 X mod per cast, which is very high for currently, and then it's still like 38 on that 4th turn that his Jekt Rush becomes crap because of his poor enhancement duration.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
see.
see what happens. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm really hoping, because I'm hoping this secretly is the new trend where we will get latents for the series units. I really do, because I think that's great. I mean, nostalgia is such a large part of this game, so I'm liking this. If they do something week 2, let's see.
I mean, especially for the older Final Fantasy units, like I don't think Final Fantasy 6 got their latents yet.
No,
Yeah, there's several that are missing. 6, 4, 15, and now I guess more recent ones like 11 or whatever, whichever game Shantoto's from.
11, yeah.
11.
Yeah.
11 didn't get any yet.
But no, I'm hoping that like now that they've appeared, sort of the gates are open and they will start backfilling them, and they've definitely already shown that they're like balancing and buffing them. So hopefully we'll see some of the more disappointing ones improved as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, but we can at least enjoy the ones that we do have. Lulu's were especially good, and the water love continues apparently, with Flood making a surging comeback, if you will.
Ooh, you're such a dad, Hazard. Stop being such a dad.
Dads are in. Dads are in.
Well, on the topic of Lulu, I found it really interesting that last year when her enhancements came out, we were all really, I think, taken aback by how much it's helped her out. And then this time around, her latents bring her back again in such a fantastic form. And we're at a point where it's like, I think it was Folka who had like a 3 times modifier boost for Flood, was it? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things you could do if you take Folka and there's one more unit that I forgot that gave a modifier boost.
AI Katie.
Yeah, Katie.
Hey, Katie, yeah. So it's like she can do like quite a bit of damage, especially with external help.
Wait, doesn't Nickel do something like that too?
Not that I know.
I
of.
don't
I don't think so.
No.
Doesn't he have like an ability that? No. Okay. Huh. I'm
No.
gonna
He's
look
got
this up.
It's not that
Water
normal.
Imbue, but no, I think it is Volker rather than Nickel, who has, I think it's Blue Mirage or something. Or is that one of her other
I
ones?
know Folka has one. I just thought Nickel, or was it his STMR? No. Okay. Never mind. Let's forget this.
Yeah, I just checked it. They don't have it.
It's kind of funny. You can put together basically a whole team that actually works, that focuses on improving water damage with AI Katie, Folka, Locke as your breaker, Luna, Freya as your support, and then Tululu.
Why
Tululu.
would you bring Luna Freya for Lulu?
Just to really hammer the theme home, even though
Yeah,
it doesn't
Just
really do
send the
anything.
message.
I'm just saying you're fulfilling every role in your team with a water-based person. That's actually good.
And make sure you have all of the water espers equipped as well.
Yes. I mean, AI Katie's not a water-based person, but you know, she improves the flood chains. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, like, there is one thing to consider with Lulu. Like, even though her damage is good, like, the requirements to actually get a chain for her is very tight. Like, you practically have to spark chain just to chain with her.
That's true.
So that is something to consider if you're planning on using her.
There's a few things to keep in mind with her. First off, she's locked to water. Like she has a couple skills that deal other elements, but they're either on really long cooldowns or they suck. So if the boss is immune to water, you just don't use her. Period. Second, her damage is mostly locked behind this 7-turn cooldown that gives her a huge mod boost. So if she dies, she's in a lot of trouble because then she loses that 30x mod boost and her damage is trash.
But, like, she
Yeah.
is quite tanky, so she's not going to be dying anytime soon.
She's not really tanky. Like she has normal survivability now. She used to have no survivability passives. The new latents just brought her up to normal.
But there's one thing to say about that because she caps Madge very, very easily, meaning that you will, in reality, have a lot of bulk on her.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And also, she's one. I think she's possibly the only mage currently that has 150% innate trigger wield,
Yeah.
which is like very helpful if you want to gear that way, and only needs 1 STMR instead of 2 to cap it out.
They should have given her 175 so that my Morgana staff is actually useful.
The thing that's a little annoying to me is that since she only has one element, she's bad for Moon, which is the main trial for mages. And since she doesn't have particularly high defense, she's not that good for Tiamat either. I think you can use her there because of her easy gearing. It's not like she's going to be impossible to use, but she's not particularly well suited for it. So the two main trials that are made for mages, she's not a good fit for.
That's sad.
Sadly.
Yeah.
If you're lacking a mage, Lulu's still a good, decent choice. It's just the fact that, again, being locked to one element for a mage is such a big detriment. I don't know what to say to people. Like, she's such a huge investment. Her enhancements aren't cheap. And obviously, the latents cost,
PP.
EP, yeah, there we go.
No, you misheard.
PP.
Keep that in GD2.
Listen, you need to give her a lot of PP for her to be powerful, okay?
Oh my goodness.
Keep that in GD2, Bharos.
You really just need the two passives. I guess you can do Flood too. It barely matters. It's like a
Okay.
2x modifier increase.
And it costs 2 pure Chris of black, and I'm not doing that. I have standards.
Move on.
So these units are actually really, really well done for the new SBB trial we got, which is Braska's final Aeon, because it uses AoE physical damage that has accuracy. So Mirage is particularly good, and it's has innate weaknesses to water damage.
For some
No, there is
reason.
not like one AoE physical damage. It's like multiple. Kimahri is more useful there.
Yeah, exactly. He does 2 per turn, so Kimahri's actually makes you, well, your team takes 0 damage if you have Kimahri as your Mirage spammer.
Not quite 0, because he will use the AoE three times on some turns, but
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But 1 won't kill you. 3 might. Probably will.
Yeah.
yeah, I think if
I
you use the 2-stack Mirage, then the third cast is probably not going to hurt much.
think the bigger issue here is that he buffs his attack by 50% and I think 200% on different turns. And if you don't dispel those, you're going to have a hard time if you're not using Mirage.
Yeah, you
I
really
know.
you really want a buffer that can dispel and re-break, or you really want to dispel and then you want a breaker that can spam breaks nearly every turn.
Oh, is that why my tech was dying?
No, your tank was dying because the boss just hits really fucking hard.
I don't know, but I didn't dispel because I didn't even bother to look at any of the weak because SPBs have been really easy recently, so I kind of got lazy with them. So I just brought a physical tank and went in blind, and I was like, oh man, the hits hard. So, but I never really thought to look at the buffs.
He does a 200% attack buff that hits really hard.
And even, I was just going to say, even with dispelling the attack buffs, the double power slash every third turn has just such a high mod that does crazy damage as well.
Yeah, it's possible to make your tank survive it, but it's extremely difficult and not really worth it.
Yeah, Muspel, can you tell us about your run? Because I know you did a run with where you actually had AI Katy Perry eat the turn 3 and survive.
I wanted to prove that it was possible, so I made I used AI Katie, Cecil, Emperor Fu, Lena, and 2 copies of Xuan. And the main thing was that on the turn that Braska does the huge AoE, which does massive damage across 2 hits, I had AI Katie defend, I had 50% mitigation up, and I evoked Golem. And that way she took, I think, about like 28k damage and barely survived every time.
So crazy damage, right? Like it's a lot of damage.
It would have been a lot easier if I had used Awakened Warrior of Light, but
It would have, yes.
So I actually did re-break and dispel basically every turn, every time he buffed himself, and I used Awakened Warrior of Light. And Awakened Warrior of Light was guarding and still taking a dirt nap every 3 turns.
yeah, you pretty much have to evoke Golem if you want to survive it, because the 70% physical mitigation is just necessary.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I wish I would have used that.
Some of the cooldown general mids. Just saying, some of the cooldown general mitigations can really help as well. Like, I think Wall has like a 70% one that he can give to someone else, or like even Wilhelm. It's a shame his cooldown is 4 turns instead of 3 because he has that 1 turn 90% general, so he could probably eat it with that. Because I think I was talking with the glorious ringleader Trag a bit about like mitigation stacking, and we worked out with 80% cover mit, 90% general mit, which is available through a couple cooldowns, 70% physical from either Golem or a future unit Daisy, and then defending, it was like 99.7% damage mitigation, which is just disgusting. And now I think Hazard has been waiting to say something.
No, I said what I was going to say, but it reminds me of when Muspel actually mentioned the ringleader this week, and it was instead of actually tagging Trag, he tagged someone named ringleader who we have no idea who it is.
Like poor clueless person. Like what?
There's also multiple hazards in the Discord, and I think the other one has been pinged many times on my behalf.
I feel like that's their fault, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should choose better nicknames. But one thing I want to say about Braska's final Aeon. Okay, first of all, it's a great. Does anyone agree that the boss design is actually really nice? It looks very nice in the game.
Yeah,
it's like a tiny old man's head stuck in the middle of this entire freaking huge beast.
Yeah, I can see you haven't played Final Fantasy X, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, okay?
I'm still trying to download it.
But there is a reason for that head. But one thing that I'm going to say is this is one of those trials where Gumi really shows you how powerful it is to have Mirage. Because if you can spam Mirage every turn, boom. This trial is actually super easy, and you can do some crazy shit like trying to do 2-turn clears.
Alright, like, while we're on the topic of discussing about 10, like, what they say with Yuna and Yunalesca? Like, for someone who hasn't played the game, names can get confusing.
I think Yunalesca is a historical figure in the game. I think Yuna is just named after her.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It is
That's what it is.
explained
And also
directly.
play Final Fantasy X. It's a good game.
No, you.
I disagree. But
Whoa, you do? Okay. I mean, like, Final Fantasy X is far from my favorite game. I actually think Final Fantasy VIII is better than 10. But why do you not
whoa!
like... No, it's a lot better game. I'm sorry.
Man, that is a hot take.
That is a hot take if I heard any.
I mean, like Final Fantasy VIII has everything you want from an RPG story. So there are some crippling game mechanics in that game that make it anti-fun. But the story is a beautiful romantic story that has a lot of suspense, a lot of mystery to it. Like it's a great game if
Dude,
you
FF8 is a soap opera. Like in the third act, it just pulls you out, pulls a rug from the bottom, and with a stupid twist. I don't know. I hate.
listen, Shadow. Like I will find out where you live. I will find out where you live. I will shit in your mailbox.
So as long as we're stirring up drama, I want to say that Balthier is a bad and boring character, and the only reason people like him is because of his accent.
Why you guys all have such bad opinions?
Final Fantasy XII is a shit game, and Balthier is a boring character. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth.
Hold up. Bharos, if you think FF8 is a better game than FF10, your opinion about FF12 being shit is nothing to us right now.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm sorry that you have to be this wrong, okay? I don't know what happened in your life, so you have to be this wrong, but you are, and that's okay. But here, I'm gonna give you a tip on how you're actually gonna enjoy FF8. Because what you need to do is you need to download the Steam version of FF8, because what you can do in that is you can turn on some cheats that turn off the horrible gameplay decisions they made in this game that will actually make it playable.
If you need cheats to make the game good, the game is pretty trash.
Exactly.
I mean, no, I agree. The mechanics are absolutely horrible. I fully agree. But the game and the story is good. You can't deny that. Don't deny that.
No, the story.
No. Listen. I'm gonna cut out everything Shadow said in this podcast.
Narrator, he did deny it.
It's like the parents are fighting again. Please help.
I'll say Balthier is a lot more interesting when he appears in Final Fantasy Tactics.
As a
Final
cameo?
Fantasy what now?
He and Cloud make guest appearances. And also Luso from another game.
Wait, Cloud was in
Not the name.
FFBE? I don't remember that.
No, but in the oh wait, he was actually in the original version too. Yeah, he was.
But what original version?
Ha. Now I got the joke. Never mind. Yeah, Marsh never meets Cloud. What do you mean, Hazard?
Muscle's going to keep trying to make this joke work, and it hasn't worked, and it's not going to work.
This is stop us from trying.
Guys, on a side note, I recently bought Tactics on the phone, and it's such a good.
It's so good on the phone, too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I mean, like the War of the Lions remake also has much better dialogue than the original version. It's like just such an enjoyment to play that. What happened to the people that made this game? Did they just die after making Final Fantasy Tactics? Did they leave for a company that made soap? Like, where are they? Why don't they make more games?
Honestly, it's the greatest tragedy in the history of video games that Final Fantasy Tactics didn't get an actual sequel.
But Hazard, there is one like a semi-sequel.
No, there are actually two sequels.
Yeah.
That's why I said a
FFBE
real
War of the
sequel.
Visions. What are you talking about?
What are the
Well,
visions?
Well, Hazard, did you know that the lead designer on Final Fantasy Tactics was also the battle system designer for the best Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy VIII?
Oh my god.
Okay, listen, you're trashing Final Fantasy VIII too much because, like, it's actually a decent game. Like, you need to stop.
I just looked it up. The battle system designer for Final Fantasy Tactics also was the battle system designer for Final Fantasy VIII and 9 and 12.
Wait, but okay, 9 has a decent battle system. 12 has a shit battle system. But okay, here's the problem with 12. 12 is kind of trying to go right on the whole MMO wave. So it plays very much like an MMO and thus being like a shit boring game.
It plays nothing
But
like an
What
it
are you
plays
talking
exactly
about?
like an MMO.
How does it play that? How does FF12 play like an MMO? What are you talking about?
You want to talk about MMO? Isn't that a Final Fantasy 15?
No. Listen, 12,
Every-
they tried to do this open world, and they tried to do this thing where you're just controlling one character, and it's very much like if you ever played 11, I think you'll kind of figure out what I mean. So
I think FF12 was the idea of an MMO from a person that had never played an MMO.
Yeah, so like Final Fantasy 11, because
Okay, I think we have successfully angered every single fan base of every single Final Fantasy game at this point.
no, because I love all Final Fantasies, but like you are the haters right now, okay?
I don't know.
Wait, I have a question.
Every time you open your mouth, our credibility is going down to the drain right now. So it's like,
Okay, does anyone want to insult Final Fantasy VII while we're at it?
oh, I can install Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, it's not the best Final Fantasy. I'm gonna say like it's way behind 6 and 8.
It's not behind 8 though. It's
Oh
behind
my
8.
I
gosh.
would still say it's behind 8, like story wise, but gameplay wise, no. Yeah, it's kind of there.
What happened to us being on time today?
But we're talking about interesting stuff, okay? Like I'm gonna go back, and when I do the editing, I'm gonna edit in like some really aggressive music while we're arguing about Final Fantasy. This gets extra exciting for all our listeners, okay? You're welcome, listeners.
Somebody should cross-post this to our Final Fantasy just for the hell of it.
Wait,
Yes.
I have a bit of a shower thought. Like, if Final Fantasy 12 is designed by someone who did once and then it's like Final Fantasy 15 designed by someone who wants to make an action RPG but hasn't played action RPGs.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
take. I think that's a good take. FF10 is probably designed by somebody who likes hallway simulators. So,
FF10.
Yeah.
Don't you mean 13?
Okay.
yo, let's be honest. The whole hallway simulator thing started with FF10.
I mean, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, the maps in FF10 are definitely a bit more linear than the other Final Fantasy games. It did start there. I agree.
Yeah.
But 15 is actually just really weird, though.
Sorry, Dream, you had to say something?
I was just say, at least compared to 13, 10 tries to make it a bit less obvious.
Yeah, yeah. But they both have this weird thing where the game actually opens up super endgame and it's super grindy.
Dodge 200 Thunderbolts.
Ugh.
Just play
I remember
Blitzball.
that. Oh, Blitzball shit. Oh, God, yeah. Like, you had to do it also to get Waka's best weapon, right? You had to do all the Blitzball bullshit.
Yeah.
The
Can I
best
just
meeting-
say... Sorry, go on. Sorry. Hester,
I'm
go for it.
thinking my favorite little side quest thing is the choreography scene in the beginning of Final Fantasy 9 when you're doing the sword fighting and you get 100
Oh,
out of
yeah.
100. I did it
Yeah.
once on mobile. I couldn't do it on my PlayStation, but I did it on mobile somehow. That was my proudest moment.
Congratulations, Hazard. I just want to say that.
That's where you peaked in life.
Wow. That got dark real quick.
FF8's best point, and just going back to what Bharos said, is when the gang, Squall and the gang, get into a band and you have to play music or something. That was probably the most fun part, and consistently fun part is probably the card game. The card game in FF8 is the better game than FF8 is. So that's
Triple
Anyways,
Triad is
all
very
Final
good.
Fantasy games are bad, and Tales is a much better series.
Oh,
Thanks.
wow.
This has been episode 7 of the Global Exclusive Podcast.
No, but I want to say one thing. The best scene in Final Fantasy VIII is the one where the main character and the heroine are in space. Okay, that's like such an emotional scene. Like I'm my tears. Like I can't do this.
Speaking of 8, I don't think we're going to have an 8th episode of our podcast.
No, because this one is never going to end. Like, how long have we been going?
It's like, wasn't this week supposed to be about Final Fantasy 10?
At this rate, we're not going to be speaking to each other by the end of the.
Oh, no, I'll be speaking to everyone except Shadow.
I'm just curious. We know Barros' favorite is FF8 then. It's
not my favorite. It's far from my favorite. My favorite is FF6.
Oh, okay.
I don't
That's
see you going to bed for FF6 that hard.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Now that we're on the topic, so Barros' favorite is 6. Cotton, obviously 6. Dream, what's your favorite?
Well, I have not actually fully played through a Final Fantasy game.
Okay, listen, I'm
Believe
just
it or
going to
not.
edit
You-
out everything Dream says from now on.
But
The
I
true
know,
casual.
I probably have to pick 10 because, like, I basically watched a full playthrough of the remaster on YouTube and really enjoyed that. And that's literally like what got me to search for Final Fantasy, like for FFBE.
Oh, so you're
Stop
pulling
that.
for Tidus.
No, I don't get blindly attached to characters like that.
That's the whole
Huh.
point of FFBE is to
Yeah,
be
I
a
was just
blind
gonna say,
fandom.
It's like,
What's wrong with
it's
you?
like, but I would do it for CG Auron. Probably. I don't know. I'm just not attached to Tidus specifically. But a lot of the other characters in that are great.
I don't know. I don't really like Final Fantasy games that much. I would say 6 is probably my favorite. That's not to say it's one of my favorite games because it's nowhere near that, but it's probably my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Why are you even playing this game, Marcel? Why?
I like strategizing for trials.
We'll just make this the games that are better than Final Fantasy podcast.
Did you say strategizing for trials?
I thought Marcel doesn't clear trials.
He only strategizes. He never does them. He just strategizes the whole time.
No, he's just trying to be nice. What he actually likes to do is argue for hours about units.
Sorry, what's your favorite Final Fantasy? Numbered Final Fantasy.
Numbered, that's tough. I would say
That would
the
be
most.
Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2.
Good number.
Yeah, that has a number.
So serious answer. I would say the most complete game I've played in this series, I would say, is 6. It's just really well done from start to finish. But my favorite nostalgia-wise is probably Final Fantasy 9, just because of the time in my life I was at when I played it. I really connected a lot with the characters, even though I recognize that it has a lot of drawbacks and understand why.
Mm.
But yeah, Tactics is obviously puts everything else in the trash can. So don't even try.
Yeah, that's true. Tactics is probably the best thing Square Enix ever produced. Period.
Yeah, Tactic is fantastic. Let's agree to agree. Okay, Shadow, you're fine now. I'm not gonna edit out all of your stuff.
Well, but you're probably gonna edit out if you listen what my favorite numbered Final Fantasy is, though. So
Oh, what is your
Oh,
favorite
boy,
number
there we
Final
go.
Fantasy?
my favorite, I think the best game in the series and where the series peaked and has been downhill ever since was FF12.
Wait, FF12?
True. We can agree that 13 was bad.
13, I haven't played 14 because I don't play MMOs, and 15 was just a bit too weird for me. But 12, I think, was the perfect FF game, and we haven't gone close to it since.
Really? That's
Yeah.
Hot
interesting.
take.
Huh.
I really enjoy though, even though we say hot takes, but we can all appreciate different games that Final Fantasy has put out. Not Final Fantasy. I'm too tired for this crap.
Go to bed, Dad.
It's been a long episode, full of hardships and trials. Not actual trials. This one was easy.
Who is excited for the Final Fantasy 7?
I don't
I'm
have
actually not that
Nobody.
excited, to be honest.
I don't have much faith in Square Enix's ability to do solid game design.
Video games.
Like the problem is that they throw out the playbook every single game, and they never polish it. So you get like their first take at some weird new battle system, and it's janky and it's not very fun usually.
The demo looks fun in terms of the battle system. I'm just worried about how they already said there's gonna be a lot of plot change. So
Wait, they have?
Yeah, they confirmed
Yeah.
that they're retconning things in, they're retconning things out, depending on like Crisis Core and Advent Children, so that it all lines up a bit better. And I don't like it when game companies start doing it. So
Yeah,
let's
that's
see.
so weird.
Let's
I
see
mean,
how-
okay, so the reason why I'm not excited about it is because it's a game I've already played. It's a game I like. But why are they making it again? And now they're also changing the story. So, like, Ares is going to die twice. Like, what?
Spoilers.
What?
Oh,
You mean
it's like,
Aerith lives?
But come back 3 times.
Yeah,
It's
no. She, like, dies once, gets back, and then she dies again just at the end, just to spite fans.
it's like Disney. Disney's now making live versions of classics, and none of them have been as good as the classic. Why are you doing this? Why?
Yeah.
Money,
Well, I
man.
mean, for the Square Enix case is obvious. They, I've said this so many times, but I think they've lost key people, like people that have been the creative driving force behind many of their initiatives. They've lost them, and they haven't been able to get back into the groove. I actually agree with Shadow that from 12 and on, it has definitely been downhill, and something happened there. I don't know what.
There's like people like old ones better than new ones, so we'll give them the old ones again.
Or rather, we can't make any new games, so let's make games that people bought.
I have a whole episode worth of rant about this, but I'll hold off.
Yeah, this is the same laziness that got us the Esper units that are coming. It's instead of doing new things, let's just combine things that people liked in the past, or even didn't like in the past, and just create something out of it. It's really
Nostalgia's a hell
stupid.
of a drug.
I mean, they probably made Alim a lot of bank.
Well, I don't think that this argument's going to end anytime soon. And so we'll see you guys next week where we'll continue arguing about what the best Final Fantasy and what the worst Final Fantasy is. But thanks so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the Final Fantasy X banner and the Braska final Aeon fight. I thought they're both interesting. And now Lulu is back in the meta, and I don't have to pull for mage for at least 6 more months. Yay! See you guys next week.
Yay! See you.
See you all next week.